It's a unique feeling just coming and working out with the guys because I'm actually in a position of leadership.
Jeremy Lin has never really been given the keys to the car. In Charlotte, really found his way last year.
So here, being back in that position, I mean, this what I've been my whole life is a starting point guard. What is a leader is someone whose job is to bring the best out of everybody else.
Lin turns the corner, gives it up, and the lane goes at the buzzer. Kilpatrick on a beautiful setup by Jeremy Lin.
Feels natural, feels right, because that's just what I'm used to, and I feel like that's part of my strengths as a person or player is to lead, and so I'm loving it. I'm loving it, and I'm just thankful. And there's so many times where I would finish practice, I'd go home, and I'd just be like, man, I'm thankful to be back in this position again. I want to see what we're capable of, and it should be a fun year.
We are joined by a very special guest, Tim Capstraw, the Brooklyn Nets radio analyst. Cap, we're thrilled to have you with us, bringing all your insight, of course. But you're around the team. You've been around the team this early part of the season, the off season, and we both know coming into the year, outside expectations were not high for this Nets group. But they were very optimistic, given the work they put in the offseason, in the preseason, and it's shown thus far. What are your early impressions of this group?
Well, I'll tell you this, Sarah. I'm very impressed. I'm talking a very good first impression. Now, I understand from a talent level, and they're starting what you said, from the ground up, trying to build up their organization. It's going to take some time, and it's a long-term approach. But boy, after a few games, you can't help but be impressed. This team is likable. I know it's early and it can be a long season, but these guys seem like they're high character guys that just want to play a high level of good basketball.
You're a former coach yourself. It seems like every NBA coach comes into the season saying, we want to play faster, we want to move the ball, be unselfish. But this team really is. I mean, the motion offense Kenny Atkinson is running. They're an uptick in the pace that they're running. What have you seen just in general out of this offensive system and the push that Kenny Atkinson has in how he wants his guys playing?
Well, it's pace, but it's intelligent pace. It's quick, it's up the floor. But when you talk about pace in basketball, it's not just how quickly you shoot the ball. It's the pace with which you cut through the lane. It's the pace with which you set up a screen and set a screen. It's the pace for how long you hold a basketball. It puts a lot of pressure on the defense. A lot of fun to watch. This is what they're committed to. This is how they're going to play, and this is the future of Brooklyn Nets basketball.
Early on, there was a lot of question, does Brook Lopez fit into this system that they're committed to? It was like, oh, he may not be a fit. Then all of a sudden, we start seeing the Brook Lopez we know as everyone adjusts to this type of system. Lopez being one of those players who's finding his spots. How has he found his fit into the way that this team plays?
I think he's the most intriguing player to watch right now, because if you watch the Nets play, you will see that they play very analytical basketball. That means you shoot threes, you shoot from the paint, and you shoot from the free throw line. So the in-between mid-range 16-footer that's off the paint is no longer a shot. So people are saying Brook Lopez, well, he's shooting threes now. That's crazy. Well, he's shooting threes, but he's not shooting the twos that are 17 and 18 feet. Also, when he has the basketball, he's not driving to pull up. He knows that the emphasis on is to get the ball to the paint. Brook really stands out because his defender is close to him. Therefore, there are openings for other people on the floor. I'm finding it fascinating to watch.
You talk about a fascinating player in Lopez. Kilpatrick, to me, is just spectacular in how we see him continue to grow from signing on, 10 days last season, signing on with the Nets, and then now as he continues to come into his own.
Yeah, great evaluation, because he has a fearlessness about him that really, really stands out to me. The moment is never too big for him. And I think he's one of these guys that we see him play at point guard position at times. He's not afraid to knock down a shot. And he's a great example. He knocks down threes and he takes it all the way to the basket. I think that a lot of people evaluate NBA players and they say, what position does he do? What doesn't he do? I don't know what size he is. Hey, this guy was a first-team All-American, top 5 player in the country. Maybe he's just good.
Bojan Bogdanovic, a monster summer for him with the Olympics. What he showed on a world stage he was able to do. How does he continue to grow in the NBA and find his spots of where he can be that type of aggressive scorer?
I have noticed with Bojan that I think whoever the coach is would really matter to him. You know what I mean? I think certain people can just play through anybody and doesn't really matter. But I think a coach that provides confidence and challenges him is really, really important. I think that's what Kenny Atkinson has done. He's saying people are always being cautious what he can't do. And I think this coaching staff is saying, no, you can do more than what you've been doing.
Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, second season, but you look at his rookie year, he misses 50 games. What's it going to take for him to make that jump and become, we know he's got energy, we know he can play defense, but what will it take for him to be an impact player, not just on his Brooklyn Nets team, but in the league?
For him to understand his role and who he is. He can impact a game without ever scoring a point. With his defense, with his hustle, very good passer, and his ability to make quality decisions. Nets don't have anybody like him that can really, really defend and lock down and play multiple positions defensively. He's just got to understand that it's okay being that. Let the offense and let that come to you. You can have a great game without scoring many points.
Capper, the best. We've got much more from not only Tim Capstraw, but more from Brooklyn Nets Magazine right after this. Nets radio analyst Tim Capstraw. And Capper, we've spoken about some of the returning players to this Nets organization, the new guys. Jeremy Lin, of course, suffering from that hamstring strain. But prior to that, you know, he really showed so much of just kind of his mentality heading into the season. What have you noticed about the type of player we can expect to see out of Lin?
Well, I think he's a system fit. I think it's a great opportunity for him, and between the relationship he's already had with Coach Atkinson and just the way he plays. It's his time right now. He deserves it. He was terrific last year in Charlotte. This can be his team, and I think that must feel terrific to him. People, I think, underestimate how fast he is and how quick his first step is. So he can blow by people. His three-point shot has improved dramatically. I think this is perfect for him. It's perfect for the coach, and it's just, he's the right guy at the right time to be really helping the Brooklyn Nets.
He has taken to heart that leadership role.
Yes.
Another guy that seems to be just an excellent fit has been Trevor Booker. I even talk about the theme this year is Brooklyn grit, and he's every bit of that.
He sure is. He's just one of those guys on a team that's about winning. And I noticed that when he played on other teams, whether it be Utah or Washington, that this guy goes hard. He has a motor that you can't slow down, and everybody's got to fit a certain role. He fits his role extremely well.
Talk to me about Luis Scola. How much has he impressed you just in terms of the word leadership keeps coming up?
I was impressed with some of the moves that Sean Marks was doing in the offseason. I said, hey, that's a smart move. That guy makes sense. But I was never more impressed when they said, let's get Luis Scola here. I said, well, you know something? There is going to be a terrific foundation being built, because I was very familiar even with, I used to broadcast those European games years ago, and he was a great player. I followed his career closely, a number of interviews, and he is of the highest character you could ever meet in the NBA. He just knows how to play. And then interviewing him before this season, is he great? No, but he has great self-awareness. He knows why he should be here. He makes great decisions. He's a great guy in the locker room and an outstanding addition to this team. And
he's a big factor in helping some of these younger guys along, and one guy in particular who had played internationally, Justin Hamilton. I mean, talk about a guy who's shown that the things that we had heard about him stretching the floor and coming to work, he really has shown that.
Well, Justin Hamilton played high school basketball for a player I coached named Quincy Lewis in Lone Peak, Utah. And I know a little bit of inside about him. This is breakthrough stuff. But Justin Hamilton, I have a little inside because very late to the game, was not an impact guy. I think he was just put on the team as a freshman, because why wouldn't you put a guy his size on the team and see what you could develop? I think his improvement and his level of achievement is still on the rise right now. He's a better athlete than you think.
Yeah.
He can rebound the ball. He's very good defensively and it's showing up in the paint and not fouling. And he can shoot the basketball.
Speaking of shooting, a shooter, Joe Harris. I mean, talk about a guy who's just got a quick release, got a touch, got a shooter's mentality.
Coach Atkinson, Sean Marks, they knew the system they wanted to play. They knew how they wanted to play the game of basketball. And they went around, I'm sure they went around the league and investigated and said, you know something? Here's a sleeper right here. This guy could play. He was good at Virginia, knows how to play, fearless shooter. Again, better athlete than you think, and he's not just one-dimensional. We've seen him be able to take the ball into the paint, be fundamental, make some strong plays, cuts well without the basketball. He will benefit the Nets, and the Nets will benefit Joe Harris.
Buckle up. The marathon's beginning. We certainly appreciate, Capper, you joining us. We're going to call on you again. It's the inside information. The inside. Tim Capstraw of the Nets radio broadcast.